Welcome back to Foundry Talks. In this episode, I'm chatting with Dawn Seymour, managing partner at Katalyst PR. With a background in journalism and deep experience in hospitality, Dawn brings a fresh perspective on what truly makes a brand story land. We talk about the difference between PR and marketing, how to avoid common missteps, and why strong media relationships matter more than ever. If you're in hospitality or just love a good behind-the-scenes conversation around brand storytelling, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Foundry Talks. I'm Rachel Stojanovski, and today I am joined with Dawn Seymour, who is the managing partner at Katalyst PR. So Dawn, we're so glad to have you on the show today.
I'm so happy. Thank you for having me, Rachel.
Absolutely. So for our listeners, we'd love it if you could just give us a little bit of background about yourself and Katalyst PR.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for me, I was an English major and I graduated from UCSB. Go Gauchos. But I really didn't know, I knew I loved writing and that was really what led me to being an English major. But as I was nearing graduation, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, am I going to go and be a literary agent? Or, I also love art. Am I going to go work in a comms department at a museum? I really didn't know. But what I always loved and I still love were magazines. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about a career in publishing as something I could really do. And my last quarter of my senior year at UCSB, I ended up interning for what was a small magazine that was based in Carpinteria outside of Santa Barbara, Islands Magazine. And I was like, okay, I have never written for the school paper. I have no journalism cred here.
Not that traditional trajectory.
No, it just really wasn't on my radar. And so then I was like, well, okay, I should probably go to grad school or something. I need at least a foundation of this before I attempt anything. And so I ended up applying to grad schools and I ended up going to American University in Washington, D.C. And getting my master's in journalism and public affairs. And that was incredible and so much fun and a great year for a West Coast girl to live on the East Coast. And it was a year program and I just loved it.
And I feel like that's such a hub for that too. You were probably just really in all the action.
Yes. And the program was awesome because they had partnerships with a lot of businesses. We got to go to New York and see what it was like to go into the NBC News building, where they were filming the Today Show and all of these things, because there was people in every sort of vertical of journalism who were all in the same program together. So there was people who were the radio and TV route and people who were, the more traditional writing route. So it was awesome because it really was okay, here are things you can do now that you're graduating with this degree. And I ended up applying for some internships and roles back in California and ended up working for what is now Modern Luxury magazine. And it's when Modern Luxury had Angelino. They also had CS, which was Chicago Social. And then I was actually based in Orange County and I worked at Riviera. And that's where I got my start.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was super fun. And I definitely learned a lot. I'm still close friends with my boss, Jillian. She was my boss, Jillian Flynn. She's an insane writer. She was very traditional journalism route, always wrote for the school paper. So I felt like I was coming in with this totally different world. But she taught me the nuts and bolts of that space where I had already taken it from my grad program. And it's funny because then I obviously made this transition into PR, but I think, and I always say, I tell people this often, which is I think some of the best PR people come from a journalism background because we as journalists know what excited us and what pitches were good and what didn't work and all of those things. So it really, and you're also just thinking more like an editor when you're writing pitches and stuff. And so it just kind of creates this different way to speak to people and where you're not I think that sometimes if people are just PR majors, it's like they kind of lean more into like a marketing role, which is great, but
Yeah.
it's like they're very much like in like a PR box rather than
Yeah.
thinking more editorially.
Yeah.
Um, so that was interesting. And then I ended up going from working at Riviera, which I worked at for 3 years. They actually launched the San Diego edition during that time. And I'm from San Diego originally. And I was like, yes, I want to go work at the
Yeah.
San Diego one.
Sign me up.
And I was like, sure. And
Yeah.
so I got to be the editor on the ground in San Diego, which was so much fun
Amazing.
and was wonderful. And then I ended up like making a wild pivot, but still in the journalism space. And I took a job at Surfing Magazine as their managing editor. And that was really fun because I was pulling in like all out like elements of my like
Yeah.
journalism and like all of the things like the creative side and I was basically like managing the editorial staff and like the timeline for them, but I was also working with the publisher and the sales team on like page counts and ad
Yeah.
layouts and all sorts of stuff.
So like the total nitty gritty, just getting like from start to finish, how does this
Yes.
publication come to life?
Yes. And how does this work? Like, how
Yeah.
does the world of magazines work? So that
Yeah.
was really fun for me. And um, during that time, as the managing editor, Surfing at the time, it was Surfer and Surfing, and they were actually owned by the same company, and our sales teams overlapped, and it was like kind of cuckoo crazy. And this was in my like mid 20s. So it was a really fun time because everyone was like, I was the only girl with a team of 10 boys on an editorial
Oh my
staff that
gosh.
consisted of 2 art directors, 2 in-house photographers, 3 editors. And I actually brought in one of my girlfriends as a copy editor who
Like
she
we
was like
need some female
she was
energy in
there
here.
was like I needed a freelance copy editor who I could like say, can you help me? Like, this is insane. I'm like, these boys are going on 2-hour surf breaks to like
Oh
surf
my
at lunch.
gosh.
And there's like edit pages that need to be finished.
I can't. Oh my gosh.
So that was wild. But the best part about that job was that I got to produce their annual swimsuit issue that they did.
Mm.
And so with that, I was able to this is when I really started to understand also like I was already close friends with a lot of PR people. Having worked as a role in my role as an editor, I was getting pitched by PR people all the time. And I was actually like doing some freelance PR work for
Yeah.
an agency that was a really small agency that was like, we just need someone to write press releases for us. And
Yeah.
I was like, sure, I can turn out a press release, like no
Yeah.
problem. And so I was doing that while I was working at Surfing. But while I was working at Surfing producing the swimsuit issue, I was also seeing this other side of like the PR world where it was, brands and product and
Yeah.
partnerships and not just,
Pitching a
you know,
story.
pitching a story, like this
Yeah.
whole other side of it. And that was really fun because as the producer for the swimsuit issue, I was the one collecting all of the swimwear. I got to choose
Yeah.
all the models that we used. I was hiring photographers, makeup people, hair people, like scouting locations,
Oh
like
my gosh. I
the
love
amount
it.
of time that I spent like in photo shoots during
Yeah.
that time was just wild. But I got to go to really incredible places. Like over the course of 4 years, I got to go to Puerto Rico, Bali, Oahu,
Oh my gosh.
like Malibu, Santa Cruz, like all these places where we shot this like
Yeah.
beautiful annual issue. Um, so it was a lot of fun. And then I knew I was ready for something else. And I was also ready to stop being in the monthly cycle of a
Yeah.
magazine. Like after having worked in that monthly cycle of it's exhausting because
Yeah.
even in the PR space, like right now, it's what, July?
Yeah.
We are pitching gift guide for
Yeah.
like, we're asking all of our clients, make sure you're thinking about
Holiday.
holiday.
Yeah.
Sorry. And they're all like, what? And you're
Yeah.
like,
We just got through 4th of July. We can't even think about that yet.
yeah, I was like, sorry, like this is
Yeah.
where we're at. But even in the magazine world, it's that much more because you're
Yeah.
in a monthly cycle where you're just churn, churn, churn.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I working on for 6 months from now? What am I working on 4 months
Yeah.
from now? And I was exhausted by that. Like it
I'm
just
sure.
became hard to like it became hard to live in the now because you're
Mhm.
just constantly so focused on what was happening months and months and months
Yeah.
away. And I started to like want to dive more into the PR space. It just felt like a natural
Mhm.
transition. And I ended up going to work for J Public Relations,
Mm.
JPR, which
Yeah.
is now one of the biggest global PR
Yeah.
agencies. At the time, it was much smaller. It was about 15 people, which is the size of
Oh my
Katalyst
gosh.
now.
I love it.
But I ended up working there. And then when I left there, which was amazing, like one of
Yeah.
the best, just learning so much and working with so many incredible clients there and
Yeah.
really honing in on what I loved, which was this culinary and hospitality PR. I was always a foodie. I still am. And it was funny because when I went to go work at surfing, I remember people were like, how is this? And I'm like, I also am a beach girl and love
Yeah.
fashion. So like this is an easy, like this is one side of me. And then there's this other side of me that's this
Yeah.
like culinary hospitality side. So I feel lucky that I got to work in both spaces, honestly, because I
Yeah.
will never be able to recreate the experience that I had when I was at surfing. Um,
It
and
sounds just like one of those times it's like a just a perfect storm of how things collide just to make this like magical time. And you're like, I'm sure people ask you like, how did you get that job? Like
yeah,
how I would love to do something like that. And you're like, I can't recreate this. Like
I know
it
I
just
can't.
everything aligned.
It literally all aligned. And it's funny, I'm actually listening right now to Graydon Carter's memoir. And it's literally so fun to listen to because even for him, like his story is very interesting about he made this like segue and into writing. And then, like, literally, it's just like those things will never be recreated.
Yeah.
And it's fun to listen to that. I would say anyone who likes magazines will love his book. So that's my
Okay.
plug for his book.
I
But,
love it.
but anyway, so then when I left JPR, it was right after I had my first son.
Mhm.
So I actually went back after my maternity leave, but I was like, I want to be home with this tiny person.
Yeah.
And um, I knew I could kind of pick up some freelance stuff on my own. Like I had done some, like, here and
Yeah.
there while I was at surfing and even in the in between when I left
Mhm.
surfing and before I went to JPR, I was just doing like some contract work. So I was like,
Yeah.
I know how to do this and I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And that was actually when I met Catherine, my business partner, Catherine Radendel, who's the founder of Katalyst. And I started contracting for her.
Yeah.
And at the time, she was just getting started with Katalyst, and it was a couple of years in, and she was a team of like her and two employees, and I started really only working and corresponding with her, like not with
Yeah.
really the rest of her team. And it was all about like, how she and I were just starting to like understand like, okay, well, where is the San Diego? Because at the time we were in San Diego. So
Yeah.
where is this culinary and hospitality space going? Like,
Yeah.
where do we see it moving? And because people in the industry had known who I was from my previous role at JPR, I was
Mhm.
actually getting a lot of incoming leads that at some point I was like, I can't manage all of this on my
Yeah.
own anymore
Yeah.
as a contractor, like
Yeah.
as just like a freelance person. And so I started bringing some business to Catherine through Katalyst. And it just became what was fun was that we got introduced by one of my best friends, who is one of her friends, who Catherine also worked at JPR for a point, but we never worked there at the same time.
How funny.
So we like crisscrossed,
Yeah.
but one of my besties, Suzanne Brose, who's a VP at JPR still, she was like, you should talk to Catherine. Like, this would be a great,
Yeah.
this would be great for you. And so she was the one that introduced us. And
Love it.
yeah, so we didn't have like a working relationship. We weren't even friends, which
Yeah.
honestly was like probably the best because we've been able to build a friendship while building a business instead of like, I think a lot of people want to go into business with their friends, but
It
I
gets
think it's
murky.
hard.
It can get
Yeah.
murky.
It's like we didn't have any sort of like hangups or,
Yeah.
backstory or, expectations of the other person because it was really
Yeah.
just us like building it and getting to know each other during a time. And during a
Yeah.
time when we were both like, I had had my first son, like my boys are 2.5 years apart.
Yeah.
She ended up having she has twin boys. So we kind of were in this early stages of motherhood too, where
Yeah.
it was like, there's no one else that's going to understand this and be able to like understand this role of wanting and needing time, but
Mhm.
also wanting to be successful and like build something
Yeah.
and find the way to do it that made sense to the both of
Yeah.
us.
I love that.
Um, so yes, so that's the whole story of like my path. But
I love it.
Katalyst is a PR and social agency, and we are headquartered in San Diego. We have an office in Solana Beach, which is where I am right now. We have 15 employees, and I became a partner 3 years ago. And that was very intentional in terms of like Catherine and I kind of seeing a vision for like where the agency would go and how we
Yeah.
want to build it and even like the size. And I'm
Mhm.
based in Santa Barbara now, but I told her years ago,
Yeah.
probably like 10 years ago, honestly. And we've been
Yeah.
working together now for like, I don't know, 13 years. Because yeah, Catalyst is 15. She had started it almost 2 years when I started working with her. So 13 years.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I was like, at some point, I know we're going to move to Santa Barbara. Like, my
Mhm.
husband and I met there in college. Like, we always wanted to go anytime we could vacation or like a birthday or a celebration or
Yeah.
anything like anniversary, all of it. We always wanted to be in Santa Barbara. So
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was like, I just said, like, eventually I know we're going to end up there. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
And we ended up moving in July of 2022. So it's been 3 years exactly that I've been in Santa Barbara. And that's been great for Catalyst as well. Like we've
Yeah.
been building a whole new roster of clients in Santa Barbara and beyond. And we've always, like, the crux of our business has always been San Diego. That's where
Mhm.
I'm from. Catherine moved here shortly after college. She built her career here. We both built our careers here.
Yeah.
All of our like foundational like contacts and networking, like we will never not be a San Diego agency, but it's
Yeah.
so fun to be able to like expand beyond that. And for me to kind of like carve this little niche
Mhm.
in Santa Barbara has been wonderful.
Well, and
Uh,
just with your passion of travel and hospitality and the culinary world, like Santa Barbara is like the pinnacle of that. Like you can't ask for a better place to have that be kind of your focus and your clients. It's just amazing.
yeah, it's really fun. And there's no shortage of amazing food and wine and cocktail
Yeah.
bars and hotels. And, Santa Barbara like breathes
Yeah.
hospitality basically.
It
And it's
does.
not because it's just like it is a destination. Obviously it is like a touristy
Mhm.
destination, but nothing about it actually feels touristy. Like
Yeah.
there's certain like things obviously that do, like when you see the cute like shark little seal thing drive by, you're just like, oh, I love that. But
The land shark.
even as a local, I've done it and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is actually fun.
Yeah.
Like, you do it as a local, you do it once and like you
Yeah.
check it off your list, but
Totally.
it's fun. So
I love
it's
it.
great. But we have the majority of our employees are in San Diego. Catherine's here in San Diego as well. And our senior publicity director, who's been with us for 10 years, is in LA. And then our senior social media manager, she actually recently located to Ventura. So she's moving her way
Closer.
up the
Yeah.
coast. And then I'm in Santa Barbara along with one of our publicity assistants.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we focus on, like we said, hospitality, lifestyle, culinary clients, some CPG clients in that same vein of like,
Yeah.
um, we have like a winery client. We always work with a lot of beverage clients. It seems to be like our sweet spot. It's like if it's a CPG something, it has to kind of like live in that like culinary
World.
hospitality space.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. So just with your background, coming from, the journalist side, but now also the PR side, what would you say are some common mistakes or pitfalls that hospitality brands fall into when they try to do PR or when they approach PR today? And do you see any outdated strategies that you wish you could just yell and tell everyone to stop doing that?
I think I think the biggest mistake is that anyone who thinks that like this is a quick fix, like
Mm,
it's not.
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like, yes, if you're having like a crisis, PR is
Right.
going to help, but it
Yeah.
also is going to help over time. So
Yeah.
I think anyone who's like, oh my God, we're so slow. We need heads in beds and we need butts in seats. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what are the things that are most important? What are you doing to
Hmm.
like drive those things? Like, what are the goals beyond just the heads and beds and the butts and
Right.
seats? Like, there has to be some other thing than just numbers, 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 because
Yeah.
as much as PR grows brands,
Yeah.
it's not like you're running a promotion and like
Right.
placing an ad and like sending a mailer,
Yeah.
like traditional kind of like old school things that people do.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest pitfalls is just thinking that it's going to be a quick fix because
Yeah.
it's not. And even in this like stage of you know, the world of PR that we live in right now with the news cycle, it is
Yeah.
hard to break through into the news cycle. Like, we are working with a client who is this incredible regenerative agriculture chicken brand, and
Amazing.
they actually petitioned the USDA to change the labeling so that only truly pasture raised chicken can be called pasture raised.
Wow.
And the name of the brand is Pasture Bird, perfect name.
Yeah.
And they won. And like something
Wow.
like this, like that is literally going to revolutionize labeling
Yeah.
across chickens in supermarkets. Like this directly affects the consumer.
Yeah.
We are getting great coverage, like Food and Wine has picked it up, like different
Yeah.
things. But this would be like front page news if
Right.
we weren't in this insane news
News
cycle that
cycle.
we are currently in, where every day someone's head is spinning off
Right.
because
There's like
of
which story we talk about next.
one thing or another. So I
Yeah.
think it's when we work with clients, we really try to get them to like ground in what are your short term goals, but also what are your long term goals?
Yeah.
Because short term, we can talk about, how is influencer like relations and marketing going to help you?
Yeah.
That's a short term thing.
Yeah.
Or how is more of like a long-term storytelling and putting together, some cool ideas, or, are you working towards an anniversary, or, what's like some key message points that we can like take a deeper dive and look into and try to like, we always tell our clients that because we work with so many that are not necessarily new. Like
Yeah.
everyone wants new. Like
Yeah.
new is easy to sell.
Yeah.
Like if there's a restaurant opening, if there's a hotel opening, writers want what's new.
Yeah.
What about the people who've been open for 3 or 4, 5
Yeah.
years? Then if it's not new, how are
What's
we
the
talking
story? What
about
are
it?
we
What's the
talking
story?
about?
So
Yeah.
that's like, we love working with clients who are in that stage because it gives us an opportunity to kind of look at holistically, like, okay, well, what are they doing? Where have they
Mhm.
been? Where's something that we can like pull out that could create a storyline? Or,
Yeah.
maybe they don't realize that they're on the cusp of like, you know, some sort of trend or something that they're doing that's unique, but maybe they didn't even think it was unique because they've forgotten about it, or
Yeah.
it's just sort of like in their routine of what they do every day.
Yeah.
So there's little, like, we love to work with clients who are in that stage. And obviously, we love working with new clients too. And it's so fun when clients that we have are opening new
New
things
things.
because
Yeah.
that's always exciting too. But
Yeah.
I definitely think just the biggest pitfall for people is not realizing that it's not a game of like
Yeah.
quick, you're not going to
You're
just
in it for the
automatically.
long haul.
Yeah, it does. And, we do shorter term contracts, but we always, when they're wrapping up, we're like, it just could be like so
So
much
much
more.
better. Yeah. I
There
love
could be
it.
so much more.
Yeah. Okay, so then this may be like a tricky question, but what actually gets media attention? So like when you guys are helping clients craft the stories to get that media attention, what is some of those things, or what are some of those things? And what's the
Yeah.
gap between maybe what brands think is newsworthy and then what editors actually want to publish? I feel like we would run into that a lot in my hospitality days. The chef would be like, but I have this new menu. This new menu is amazing. And, it's hard because, yes, like everything that the team is working so hard on, it is great. It does contribute, but those are not the newsworthy stories that are going to get attention. So, like, from your expert lens, what are the things, some examples or things that brands could be thinking about when trying to craft those newsworthy stories?
Sure, of course. Yeah. And yes, we love a new menu, but they definitely don't hit with media.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, for any one place, whether it's a hotel, a restaurant,
Mhm.
or a bar, I think the things that make it newsworthy are what's like a super strong like passion element that they are rolling into maybe everything that they do,
Okay.
or is there like a person on their team that's really
Mhm.
special that can then, like, yes, okay, so in the example of your chef with his
Yeah.
new menu is great, but did you work with a farmer who's only producing X amount of abalone,
Yeah.
you know, like, is there some sort of storytelling element that is highly unique or highly
Yeah.
different that is reflective in this menu?
Mhm.
And I think those are the things that end up being the best stories,
Yeah.
are when you can just kind of take the next step. It's
Yeah.
not always about what's, presented to like the guests when they come in, like on the menu. Like if
Yeah.
they're reading that menu, and you have to also remember that like not everyone is a super educated diner, traveler, like all of these things. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes when we're working with clients, they might get in their own head about like, well, I saw this and I really liked this. And it's like, well, but not everyone, and not that you want to appeal, you don't want to like alienate people, but you also want to find like who's your core audience, because
Yeah.
your core audience are your best advocates, you
Yeah.
know? Word of mouth is still the best way. Like people
Best. Yeah.
ask people for recommendations for a reason. It's because they
Yeah.
trust that person.
Yeah.
So if you can like find your core audience and be able
Mhm.
to say, this is what these people continually come back for, or this is what they were excited about, and make that the storytelling, I think that helps create a much more engaged audience that's then going to like have that ripple effect.
Yeah. I think that's such a good way to put it. And I think sometimes it made me think when you were saying, let's find the unique story, like take it a step further. Did you partner with someone really cool? I think like that's how we would, like if I'm the chef and I've created this menu, that's what I would tell you.
Yeah.
Like that's why I would be excited. Like it's kind of like, let's write down your why. Why did you do this? Why did we come up with the new menu? And then putting that into your press release or your pitch or whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's definitely the why. And I think like in terms of what's grabbing the attention of
Yeah.
writers and editors these days is it really has to fit within what they're excited about. Like
Mm,
the days of like just mass pitching and like picking up coverage it does not work anymore.
yeah.
Like we talk to so many writers who freelancers or really prolific like
Yeah.
editors and contributors to like different outlets, and it's so much about relationships and
Mm.
also about, it's funny to say, but, and we talk about this all the time, and Paulina, who's our senior publicity director, she loves to talk about this, but is the subject line of an email. Like the
Mm.
subject line of your pitch alone is going to get someone
To
to
open it.
open it. And if you have like some beautiful, fluffy subject line that someone has no idea what your body
Yeah.
of your email is about, they're never going to open it,
Yeah.
especially if they don't know your name. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is like PR at this point, I feel like is I keep reminding our team, especially some of our like younger employees, like just be direct, like
Yeah.
ask for what you want, because if you, there's, if there's a column that you're like, this, you know, winemaker is a perfect fit for this column,
Yeah.
write to that writer and say that,
Yeah.
because they get a zillion billion pitches. So
Right.
it's just having to be more direct. And even working with some of like our local press,
Yeah.
like whether it's in Santa Barbara or in San Diego, who, we have really amazing established relationships with.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have to remind our team, because I'll say like, oh, well, they're not included in like the Union Tribune yet. Like what happened? Like there's no feature. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so said it, they would include it in this, that, and the other. And I said, just write them back and say, this is where I see this fitting. Like, do you see a fit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it gets lost a little bit, because their mind is not thinking about your one client or 20
Right.
clients or whatever it might be. They're thinking about everything that they've already experienced, all the other
Mhm.
pitches they're getting, all the other things, and they're like, yeah, I'll get to that one.
Yeah.
But if you like are like, hey,
Hello.
this works here, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but then at least you've engaged them. And even if they say like, okay, well, no, it's not a fit right now, at
Yeah.
least like you can say, well, great, let me know when it is a fit. And,
Right.
in the meantime, here's maybe something else that might be a fit.
Okay, so I think this that led perfectly into the next thing I wanted to ask. So we see a lot of brands that sometimes confuse PR with marketing.
Hmm.
So I think that's such a good example, because how marketers write, it is this really beautiful, it's almost like you're writing guest facing language,
Yeah.
versus PR in the language that you're talking about is so much more direct and targeted to these journalists and editors and publications. So how do you go about helping educate clients on that difference, and just reminding them that it matters for the long-term success?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we kick off with clients, the very first thing we do is ask, like, do you have any previous messaging? Because we like to see what is out there,
Yeah.
or if they have like if it's a new concept, like do they have like a working deck or a brand
Mhm.
voice deck or something? And we actually have like a little brand questionnaire that we send up most all of our new clients, that
Yeah.
gives them an opportunity to say like, here's words I don't like, or the brand
Mm.
is more feminine or it's more masculine, or if it were a car, it would be this car.
Yeah.
If it were going to hang out with a celebrity, what celebrity would it be? Because it
I
really
love it.
helps our team then, like you're saying, put fact to paper that makes it make sense. And
Yeah.
then we take that and we always are putting together like, whatever brand messaging, if it's a press release, a fact sheet, just a
Mhm.
small blurb, um, to work from, because it's
Yeah.
great when you have something that like, so every time you're sending a pitch or replying to a client or replying to a journalist who has an
Mhm.
ask, be able to like work from some core messaging that
Mm.
everyone agrees upon, but add the elements that make sense.
Yeah.
Um, like we work with Visit Oceanside, and this is a great example where they have so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
It's, one of like the most authentic beach towns still. It
Mhm.
has this amazing like surf culture. It has an art scene. It has a
Yeah.
culinary scene. But at the crux of it is the way we talk about it is that it's like, it's one of the last original small beach towns. And it's
I
like, if
love
you can
that.
take that and then weave that into like any other messaging, you're able to kind of like tell a story.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to the difference between marketing and PR, it's funny because the lines are so different, but they blur all the time.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is like just understanding that like we aren't the ones writing what the consumers are going to read. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes clients get confused by that, where they're like, well, aren't you just writing the article? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, there's writers and editors out there who we want to host them so that they can
Mhm.
experience what's happening here. But in order for us to get them interested, we have to convey the uniqueness and the storytelling and the fun
Yeah.
things that you are doing. So then they're like, oh, yeah, I want to come and do that.
Yeah.
And then they are going to weave that into a story. And we always, there's obviously key messaging. We
Yeah.
want them to hit the key points.
Yeah.
But it's funny, we hear a lot from writers too that they don't want a big, long, fluffy press release
Yeah.
because they want to take it from their own perspective, because
Yeah.
that's what journalists do, is
Yeah.
they take what they experience or what they're reading about or what they've been pitched, and they have to like find how that story then translates into a published piece that isn't,
Resonates, I'm sure.
yeah,
And
that
just,
like
yeah.
it feeds the consumer and the person
Yeah.
who is going to pick up that magazine and then read it
Mhm.
and say like, oh yeah, I haven't been to Oceanside before, or oh my gosh, my perception of Oceanside was like from, you know, 20
Yeah.
years ago or whatever it might
Yeah.
be. So it's really about, I think that like marketing always plays a role alongside PR. And we
Mhm.
love when we work with brands and they have an in-house marketing person,
Yeah.
because it's like, you have your job and
Yeah.
your role is, so many things. It can be
Mhm.
a million things. It can be SEO, it can be digital ad buys, it can
Mhm.
be corporate messaging, it can
Yeah.
be, putting together, you know, like you said, things that are more guest facing,
Yeah.
whether it's like websites. Like we
Yeah.
very, very like hardly at all write copy for
For
websites for
websites.
clients. Like
Yeah.
we offer it as something, but I think, we offer it as more of like a add-on to a client who maybe just
Right.
needs us to like review the websites, which we do for any of our clients. If
Yeah.
any client asked, like, sure, we would go ahead and review your website. But if you're
Yeah.
talking 20 pages of a brand new built out website,
Yeah.
like that's very different than
Yeah.
PR speak. Like we want
Yeah.
them to overlap. And that's why we love to do those brand questionnaires, because there's certain words that like maybe like you would use, but in PR, like we would never use.
Use that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so what is the biggest mistake that you see with brands when they're trying to build their own media relationships? And I know you said that landscape has really shifted. And obviously, I think there's such a value to being able to have to have media come and experience the offering or whatever your clients are talking about. But is there something that you wish all clients just had a little better grasp on, or something that they can be doing to better own their media relationships?
I think the best way for them to do that is, if a media person comes in for a hosting or a stay, making sure that they're connecting with them on
Mhm.
some level.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully, if they're coming to a restaurant or a bar or something, like a chef or, a manager, someone's able to touch that table,
Yeah.
because it's so interesting that, and this happens more often than not,
Yeah.
that we will pitch a writer on something. They're
Mhm.
like, great, yes, I want to come in and experience that restaurant. They
Yeah.
go to the restaurant and they see something on the menu that they're like, oh my gosh, I need to know more about this exact thing.
Yeah.
And the only person who's going to be able to tell them that is the chef or the owner or the GM or someone
Yeah.
who has like that internal knowledge.
Mhm.
And so we often get those questions back from writers if they do find something super interesting, where they're like, can you get me more information on this? Which is totally outside of what we pitched them.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for brands to spend that extra minute, five
Yeah.
minutes to like go and say hi and
Yeah.
like and some writers won't want to talk.
Right.
They're there, they want to do their thing,
Yeah.
they're going to be dismissive maybe and rude.
Yeah.
It happens. Hopefully not rude, but
Yeah.
but I think it's smart to have the teams make that, like, try to make that one little connection. And
Yeah.
then also to engage with that person then on social media, especially nowadays,
Yeah.
like if the if a writer comes in and they know that they're working on a story that's not gonna, go live for like 6 months or something, they
Yeah.
still might post on their Instagram where they were. And if they had a great time,
Mm.
the brand needs to engage with them there, saying
Yeah.
like, we're so happy you came to visit. Can't wait to have you back.
Or at
Hope,
least just keep an eye on it. Like at
yeah,
least have it in their like maybe they won't post
follow
anything and
them.
that's okay. But yeah, follow
Yeah,
them, like basic
follow
steps here.
them, like little things that
Yeah.
then kind of lend itself to building a
Relationship.
relationship.
Yeah.
And we like when clients have relationships with media. It's, again, when we do a kickoff call, it's one of our first questions in our kickoff
Yeah.
call is, do you have relationships with any media people? And that's just for our knowledge too, so that when we go to pitch them,
Yeah.
we always do an introduction pitch when we start with a new client, saying like, we're so excited to be working with this client. Here's some like very general background. If they have something important coming up in the next month or 2 or 3, we will probably
Yeah.
drop a little information about that.
Yeah.
But it's just so they know, like, okay, you can come to us. We're a resource for you, like all
Yeah.
of those things. But we would never want to send that pitch to a writer who that client has a relationship with, and then have the writer be like, yeah, I'm totally aware and I'm besties with the owner. Like that would just be
Yeah.
like really embarrassing.
Yeah. Okay,
Or
that's such
like,
a good
oh,
point.
I had a really bad interaction with that person. So it's like, we want to know
You
sort of
need the
like,
scoop before.
yeah, because if it is something bad, we want to be able to like fix it. And if
Yeah.
it's something good, then it's great. We'll build on that.
Right.
And that happens for us with Pally Wine, which is one of our
Mm.
great, amazing clients,
Yeah.
who they have places in San Diego as well as up in Santa Barbara. They're based in
Yeah.
Santa Barbara. But a close writer friend of mine, Matt Ketman, who writes for The Independent
Yeah.
and Wine Enthusiast, he's buddies, like close buddies with their winemaker, Aaron. And so there will be times where Matt will be like, should I text Aaron, or do you want to get this information
Yeah.
for me? It's like,
I
and I'm
love
like,
it.
I'm happy to do it because
Yeah.
I don't know where Aaron is right now and he might be busy. So
Yeah.
let me be the one to help you.
Yeah. I love that. No, and that's such good practical advice. I think sometimes, at least in my experience, when we would have media come, you get them, there's so much prep work ahead of time to make sure they're all set up, their itinerary is dialed in, everything's taken care of. And then you almost kind of feel like, well, now they just get to enjoy. Like I'm just going to let them enjoy. And I think to
Yeah.
your point, sometimes that's great. But if the opportunity arises to have an interaction, I think that personal reaction is just so much more memorable. I think it also allows that whoever that key person at the hotel or restaurant to share a little bit more about what they're excited about, infuse a little bit of their
100%.
own personal storytelling. So such great advice.
Yeah. And it really does go a long way, like many, many
Yeah.
times. I think just that little extra of giving that face time, it also puts a face to the brand, which
Yeah.
is so important because obviously there's so many millions of competing restaurants and hotels and bars and things do start to look a little cookie cutter unless they
Yeah.
are very, very, very different. So if you can like have that personal connection, I think
Yeah.
like you said, it goes a long way.
Yeah. Highlighting all those characters.
Yeah.
So, in an age where a bad review or a negative social media post can really derail a story or messaging or a brand, what is something that hospitality brands can proactively do to protect their reputation? Or, I guess, proactively, but then also, should that situation arise, what are some like key crisis PR tactics that they can
For
deploy?
sure. Well, I think, and it's so hard, right? Because cancel culture is a real
Yeah.
thing, and the, you know, an anonymity, I can never say
Yeah.
that word, of
Right.
of the internet is, and like of social media is intense. Like we all know
Yeah.
there's trolls and there's people who just love to troll, and
Yeah.
people are so much more willing to like voice their negative opinions in Yelp and Google and on Instagram than they would right there
In
in the
person.
moment to
Yeah.
the person's face, or at a restaurant or anything
Yeah.
like that. So it is a really sticky situation. And I think the very first thing, especially if like something negative goes up on like an Instagram or a Google or
Mm-hmm.
whatever in a reviews platform, I think the number one thing is you have to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
at least by saying like, we're reaching out directly to
Yeah.
this person or whatever it might be, because
Mm-hmm.
I think the last thing people want is to think that they're just,
Being
being,
ignored.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
being pushed off, because
Mm-hmm.
then that's only like infuriate the person even
Yeah.
more. So I think just saying like, if it is on like social and it's comments in your comments, say the brand's
Mm-hmm.
comments, I would say addressing that there, like, you know, we've seen this and we will be reaching out directly. You
Yeah.
are not, you are then not giving any inclination either way
Right.
of an apology or you've done something wrong, like anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
we've seen this and we'll reach out directly. It's
Yeah.
very neutral. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's like the biggest thing. And we write so many little crisis blurbs.
Yeah.
Um, we work with a, a shopping center in LA called Plaza West Covina that's like out near Pasadena, and
Mm.
just having to write little crisis blurbs on any,
Yeah.
if there's a robbery, if
Right.
there's like, if
Yeah.
there's police activity on the property for XYZ reason, it's always just trying to stay very neutral. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like the first tip for any crisis comms is first taking a breath, because you need to like see like,
Yeah.
you have to do your kind of like reconnaissance and like
Yeah.
what did happen, and say it's something as small as like, well, it's never small for anyone because no one wants to see it, but like a bad review, like if there's a
Mm-hmm.
bad review, it's like, okay, well, when did this person actually dine, let's go look at their check, like what did they
Mm-hmm.
order, and making sure that like the internal teams are kind of doing their due diligence,
Yeah.
because if something's going to escalate, you don't want to then have like one of your clients to say like, oh, someone from my team said X, Y, and Z did happen.
Yeah.
And we don't have the full picture of that,
Right.
because that doesn't help anybody. Because
Yeah.
for us, especially, like if there's a way, like we won't respond to every negative thing that's out
Yeah.
in the world. But I think understanding the context of it, number one,
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And then if there is something that's lingering, like say you're getting flooded with bad Google reviews or something like
Yeah.
that, it's like, okay, well, why did this happen? Like
Yeah.
I
Let's
said, like,
understand
let's
the
understand
backstory
it. Let's
first.
get to the context of this.
Yeah.
And then if it's real, you want to just address it with that
Yeah.
one person. If
Yeah.
it's somebody being a troll and they're just trying to be negative and stir up
Mm-hmm.
negativity, then I think the best way to counteract that is to honestly let it die. The
Yeah.
the news cycle is moving far too fast for anyone to care.
Yeah.
And we tell our clients that all the time, where it's just like, that's it's going to be neither here nor there,
Yeah.
especially if it happens late in the day or, you know, hopefully on a Friday where people are not in front of their computers,
Yeah.
things like that, where it's like, let's just kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And if there's the need to kind of like bolster positive reviews or things,
Mm-hmm.
there's tactics for that.
Yeah.
And some of that goes back to the marketing team, where we
Yeah.
would say, like, what's your marketing team doing? Like,
Yeah.
how, are there ads you guys should be running to kind of push
Yeah.
this stuff down?
Yeah.
Can you get a few like diners to come in who are loyal fans and have them
Right.
write some positive reviews
Yeah.
and get those posted?
Yeah.
Um, things like that,
Yeah.
and if you need to, and it's more like you have to take each day. I think if there is something like that, in a day by day,
Yeah.
because truly the news cycle is moving so quickly
Yeah.
that unless it's something like catastrophic, you're easily going to recover.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's such good advice. And I like how you said you really just have to, I kind of identify, okay, what was the context? What was the situation? And then take just a really neutral approach. And I think it's nice too. And even from a guest perspective, I do like seeing where brands kind of take accountability. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we looked into it. We understand that was not our best foot forward. That's not the experience you should have received. Like, let's have you back. Come
Yeah.
back. Let me show you exactly how we usually do things. Or
Yes.
yeah.
And I think that's really important is if someone did have a negative experience and they are in the right, like make it right. Like
Yeah.
bring them back in.
Yeah.
And don't just bring them in for what they did. Like,
Go above and beyond.
yeah, do a little
Yeah.
extra.
Yeah.
Because
Love
then they're going to remember that experience so much
Yeah.
more, especially the little extras versus like, oh yeah, well, they just had me back in, you know?
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So what is the most memorable campaign that you've worked on that really captured a brand's authentic story?
Oh, tricky one. I mean, I think like one of the most fun campaigns, and I would say it was fun because it continues to be fun and it's successful and it's very unique and people just love it, is the opening of the Lafayette Hotel in San Diego. It's the hospitality brand is CH Projects. They're insanely prolific. They have like 20 bars, restaurants in San Diego.
Amazing.
This was their first hotel. And I think it was so much like everything they do is a passion project,
Yeah.
but this one thing was just really special and really different.
Yeah.
If you've opened, you know, a dozen bars and restaurants and you're opening a hotel for the very first time, that's just something that's like it's monumental. It's like a milestone. And I think seeing that project from its like so they bought a hotel that was existing that had been originally built in the 40s and had been operating, but closed it for 10 months and completely, I mean, there's not, the exterior is the only thing that looks similar and just top to bottom. So and the pool is beautiful and so insane. But I think just the transformation itself and watching that transformation and then watching people experience it, watching editors experience it and have like the reactions to it, I think was just so much fun. And they ended up winning Esquire's Hotel of the Year when they opened.
Amazing.
And
that's a big deal. Congratulations.
There's just little things like that aren't little, but in the context of like, you know, their whole team was like, okay, it's open now, we're on to the next thing. And we're like, oh, and obviously it's like, you know, building to it and still watching it become its own sort of like, it's just become like this cultural thing. Like locals love it. People who visit San Diego love it. And it continues to get like wonderful recognition. And I think there was so much messaging in what the storytelling was behind it, from the historical elements to, you know, the amount of detail and the design work and all of the things, that it was like, it still continues to be this like beast in a way, because it just speaks volumes for like what a very unique vision can bring in the hospitality space.
Okay, it's next on our list to visit.
I love Only when you want to go.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for your time today on Foundry Talks. I feel like just your insight and the lens that you were able to share some experiences and things that hospitality and restaurant brands should be, you know, keeping things top of mind was just so valuable. So we're just so grateful to have had you on today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so fun. We're in it all day, every day. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's fun to like
Take a
reflect.
break and talk about it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you again. And if you want to listen to more Foundry Talks, you can find us on Apple and Spotify podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel.